Leadership is deeper. Leadership is more challenging. Leadership, because leadership is something that you will have to sit back and begin to think through the processes and begin to work out modalities of seeing that vision that you hold there is going to come to light. Now, this is something that I have found myself in. I've been in leadership position. I've been in leadership over time in my life, and I have experienced firsthand the challenges of leadership. And I can tell you straight to point that it's not an easy task. It's not an easy road, but it's a road that we must tread if we must achieve success in our lives, in our businesses, in our families, in our nation. We must tread that path of leadership. And that's why on the show this morning, Find Your Voice, we're talking about the leadership challenge. And we'll be doing this real deep because there are things that we're going to discuss today that may shake some tables. But we're going to talk about that, by the way, because of course, if you can't find your voice, what else would you do? That's why I'm here on this radio, on this frequency, helping you find your voice. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be going deeper, but true leaders inspire, true leaders innovate, true leaders drive change. I'd like you to know these three key words that I've used here: inspire, innovate, and driving change. These are three key elements that every true leader must aspire to acquire so that they can be able to inspire the change that they want to see through innovation. Does that sound very intriguing? Oh yes, it is. We're going to take a break right now, and it's a music break. I'm bringing a music break real early because I have loads of things to talk about, but I want you to just relax your nerves for a bit with this music coming from our own Michael Jackson. Very powerful tune. I won't tell you what it is, but just listen and you'll enjoy it as it comes your way. So if you want to make topic this morning, the leadership challenge, and I'm going to be talking about certain things that may spur some waters and shake some tables, but hey, who cares? We've got to do this if we've got to make progress in our nation, Nigeria, and in the world at large. So it's important we talk about this. So let's shift our focus for a moment to the current state of leadership in Nigeria and around the world. It's not a secret that we're facing significant leadership challenges. Now let me come down to Nigeria for a bit and stay here for a bit, all right? Because we have certain things that we cannot run away from, and we need to talk about all of that. Now let me tell you something real quick here, that in Nigeria we see issues like corruption, lack of accountability, and poor governance. These are three key issues that we're struggling with in our nation today. I take them in beats: corruption, lack of accountability, and poor governance. These problems hinder our progress and affect every aspect of our society. Now, I'll give you a few statistics. Now, let me talk a bit about the issue of corruption in Nigeria with reference to NNPC and our three non-functional refineries in Warri, Kaduna, and of course Port Harcourt. According to Statista.com, listen to this, very important. Between April and June 2023, Nigeria exported about 5.6 trillion naira of crude oil, which is about roughly $7 billion thereabout. About $7 billion. That's what we exported. All right, that's what we exported out of this country, and trust me on this one, that value is so mind-blowing. I'm talking about $7 billion worth of crude exported out of this country between April and June. That's a space of 3 months. April, May, June, 3 months in Nigeria as at 2023. Now wait for it, it's coming, it's gonna hit you hard. Now, according to channelstv.com, taking just a snippet of some of the things reported on channelstv.com, which is a statistic that is traced back to the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics. It was recorded that Nigeria spent about 11.9 trillion naira on importation of refined products, petroleum products, in 2023. I'm going to make it clearer to you now. Let me give you the breakdown. In the first quarter of 2023, Nigeria spent 3.3 trillion naira importing refined products. In the second quarter, Nigeria spent 3.4 trillion naira importing refined products. In the third quarter, Nigeria spent 2.2 trillion naira importing refined products. And in the last quarter of 2023, just last year here, Nigeria spent 3 trillion naira importing refined products. Now, putting all of that together, it gives you 11.9 trillion naira. What are we talking about? We spent 11.9 trillion naira importing refined products, while we exported a total volume in 3 months of about $7 billion of crude oil. Now look at the downside of this analysis. The budget for 2023, the budget, that is the 2023 appropriation bill, was 21.83 trillion naira. We're a great nation, do you know what? All we need is just to fix some things and we'll do fine. We'll do very well. If we fix a few things, we'll do very well. So on Find Your Voice this morning, I'm just saying, listen, when you talk about finding your voice on the leadership challenge, you just understand that if leadership is towing in the right direction, everything else will follow suit. That's the direction I'm heading this morning. That's what I'm bringing to your knowledge. The moment we are able to fix leadership aright, everything else will just flow. So leadership is a voice in its own. And that's why on Find Your Voice, we're saying, if you find your leadership direction, then everything else in your life will fall in place. Everything else in the nation will fall in place. Everything else in the world will fall in place. So you see that its leadership is very powerful. I'm bringing these stats to you to show you how powerful leadership can drive the narrative of a people, how leadership can drive the direction of a people, how leadership can drive the trajectory of a nation, how leadership can drive the trajectory of the world. That's what we're talking about this morning on Find Your Voice. And so I just have to bring the statistics to your knowledge so you can understand that, oh yeah, if we have all of these things in place, but leadership works out, then everything else is going to check out and everything's going to be great. That's the import of what I'm trying to bring home. So, someone is wondering, why are you bringing the statistics and Find Your Voice? Because that's what will really, really resonate with you. If it doesn't resonate, you won't pay attention enough. So that's why I'm saying, check out the stats and see what leadership can do to turn things around. Are you with me? Come on, that's the point. We're making a lot of progress we'll make a lot of progress if we fix the leadership challenge. If we attend to the leadership challenge, we'll make a lot of great progress as a people. Now, let me bring it down to your life, because you see, it's easy to talk about the nation, talk about all of these other things that are not working in the larger space, talk about the macroeconomic issues. But hey, let me bring it out to your life. Have you fixed your leadership, your life, your personal leadership? Have you found your voice in dealing with the subject matter of the leadership challenge? Have you looked at how you navigate the things you do each and every day? How the value you bring to the table helps you navigate in your business, in your career, in your life? I had to bring it from the top, and then I'm taking it down to you. And I'm telling you that whatever problems we're facing at the top starts with you. Yes, you. Don't look behind. I'm talking about you. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. So you see that when you look at all the staggering statistics across the globe, it's beautiful to quote them. But I bring it back again and I say, you as an individual, are you fixing your leadership? Like the man in the mirror, according to Michael Jackson, like the man in the mirror, have you looked at yourself and decided to change your ways? And decided to say, look, going forward, I'm going to do better. I want to change the course of my action. I want to be a leader, not because I'm holding a position, but because I am bringing about inspiration that will bring the change that I want to see. All right. Mahatma Gandhi said something and I hold so dear to my heart. Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you want to see. So in leadership, you are the one responsible, not the next person. It's about you, because leadership is not about position. Leadership is about the things you do and the outcomes. It's about translating vision to reality. So what vision do you hold for your life? How have you been able to translate that vision into reality for yourself? That's the import. When you talk about statistics about the nation, people are like, yeah, go on, hit it hard. I brought that to get your attention. Welcome home. Now you're listening to me. I like that. I got you. Very beautiful. Now you're listening. Yeah, you're paying attention right now, because you were expecting me to hit and smash Nigeria and say we're not doing so well. But I can tell you, whatever we have at the top is a function of who we are as a society. It's a function of who you are. That's just the bigger picture of the little microcosm that we have. So question, have you fixed your self-leadership? That's the big question I want to bring to your door this morning. And that's what we're talking about on the show this morning. Is it not clear that we have a leadership crisis starting from individuals? Is it not clear that we have a leadership crisis in some smaller businesses and organizations? You need to find your voice by finding your leadership pathway, by finding the right pathway. And I'm going to share with you the qualities that you need to possess to be a successful leader. I'm going to talk about that in a bit. But let's dwell on this for a moment. What are the issues with leadership? What is the teething problem with leadership? What are the challenges that we face in leadership? And you can see that until you find your voice in the trajectory of leadership, everything else will fail. Again, I reiterate the words of John Maxwell. He says, everything rises and falls on leadership. So if you fail to govern and lead yourself well, then it will affect how you lead your family. It will affect how you lead your organization. It will affect everything else, to churches, to mosques, to all of that. Society, it starts from one man, you. Look at yourself in the mirror like the man in the mirror and determine to change your ways. Determine to begin to do things differently. I had a conversation with some people and I said, you see, the problem we're faced with is a societal problem, but this societal problem starts with us. And the person said, no, it's not the problem, it's our leaders. Our leaders are the problem. I said, you know why? We are very bad followers too. So when you talk about the leadership challenge, you must also remember that there won't be leaders if there are no followers. We are very bad followers. At what point have we been able to sit down and ask ourselves the truth, the core question, as an individual? How well am I doing? How well am I leading my family? What examples am I laying before my children? What examples am I laying out at the office? Am I cutting corners? Am I doing the wrong things? You got to find your voice in leadership, bro. You got to find your voice in leadership, sister. That is very important. We all need to come together individually, first of all, and do the right things and be good followers. And when we're good followers, we're going to begin to talk about accountability. We're going to begin to talk about the things that make leadership work. And that is what we are discussing right now. The leadership challenge. I was having a conversation with my friend Fela Durotoye, and we're talking about the situation in Nigeria. And I told him, I said, I don't understand why we're where we are. And he said, hey, we're where we are because we all are part of the problem. We have failed in our respective homes, in our respective churches, in the mosques, in our various individual lives. We've failed in some way to lead right, because when you lead right and the next man leads right and everybody else does the right thing, it will come together to be a big cluster of rights, and then everything will begin to think progressively and find the right solution to every situation that we come across. That's the deal breaker. That's what I'm talking about. It's you as an individual. It's me finding the bearing of leadership in my personal life, in my family, in the organization I lead, and then we begin to spread it out into the global, into the national life, into the global life, and all of that. That's what we're talking about. That's how powerful and interesting it is to find your voice. Oh my word, I hit some people real hard this morning. They were like, oh my God, I thought he was going to keep going and keep going. Give us the statistics. I like what he's saying. Yes. But you know what? Fix yourself first. Navigate the leadership challenge in your personal space. Find your voice. Find your leadership bearing. Sit back. Ask yourself these questions. Am I leading right? Am I translating my vision into reality? The things I wrote down 5-10 years ago that I was going to achieve, am I pursuing them? Am I going across to get them done? Am I putting the things in place I need to put in place to make them happen? That's what leadership is about. It's not about you being one local government chairman. It's not about you being one senator. It's not about you being a member of the House of Representatives. It's not about being a local. It's more than that. It's about translating vision into reality. It's about inspiring people. It's about innovation. It's about all of that. That's what leadership is about. It's about driving change. That's what leadership is about. You sit back, you have a vision, you conceptualize it, you bring it to the table, you get the right people, inspire them, you bring about innovation, and then you drive a change process. And you get to that point where the vision you once had becomes reality. Then you are a leader. We can clap for you and say you have delivered value. You've done something worthwhile. And while we sit back and complain about everyone else and everything else, we forget that we owe ourselves a duty to lead right. We forget that we owe ourselves a duty to be people who have found our leadership bearing. And that's why the leadership challenge is there for you to discuss, for you to talk about, for you to ask yourself, how am I doing as a leader? Perhaps you have been appointed into a position in your organization, a place of work, and wherever it is. Or perhaps you run an organization somewhere, somehow. Can you truly sit down as you're listening to me on this show right now? Can you tell yourself that, you know what, I think I'm doing well. I've looked at the vision I had at the beginning. I've been able to translate that vision into reality. I'll give you a case in point. Very simple example. One great preacher once said, I will tell you stories about my story because it is my story. It is something that happened to me and nobody else can tell it better than I can. All right. Now let me give you an example of what it means to translate vision into reality. So I'm going to tell you my story. Because the best way to capture the essence is to tell stories. So let me capture the essence right here, real quick. In 1982, thereabout, my father started an organization called Student Aid Investments. And then he worked with a few friends. And what were they doing? He started out providing education for those who were not able to write their GCE, JAM, WAEC and all that successfully. And so there was an extramural system that he created, and they came, and had extra classes. And before you knew what was happening, these extra classes moved from evening classes to full-time classes like a regular school, but they were providing extramural lessons. And so students went there and sat. Some people even didn't bother going to their SS3 at the time anymore, or a class 6 or whatever it was called at the time. They just went straight to Student Aid and prepared for their exams. And after then, they wrote their exams, JAM, GCE, WAEC, and they aced it. So Student Aid began to grow and build an identity for itself, that whenever you want to talk about exam success for those main examinations, that is senior WAEC, GCE, JAM, you go to one place, and that is Student Aid Investment. You just go to Student Aid and you get it. You sit there, they teach you, they coach you, they prepare you, you go write your exam, you just get it and you ace it. And that ran for a period of time up until 1991, when something happened and there was a challenge with the forms that were being processed, and WAEC said there were issues, that they were not going to process the students' form. In fact, Student Aid grew to a point where they became a distributor and a sales point for WAEC forms. So you could go to Student Aid, pick your WAEC form, pick your JAM form, register for these exams. So because there were issues with WAEC turned down the forms and said no, they won't process the forms, and my dad had to take them to court. And they got to court. He won the case, actually. Took WAEC to court, won WAEC in court. But there was a small phrase that was missing in the judgment, which the lawyer at the time, I won't mention his name here, failed to include in the suit. And so WAEC stood on that interpretation and said they were going to process the form, but the students will not be allowed to sit for the exam because they cannot conduct a fresh exam for them because of time lag. And because of that singular phrase or clause or what have you that was missing in the suit, it was a challenge. But you know what? Talking about leadership, my dad, late Ted David Barivuri Dogba of blessed memory, indeed blessed memory, left Rivers State, traveled outside Rivers State. I was with him, so I'm telling you my story. And we went working hard elsewhere, raised money, did legitimate business, came back to Port Harcourt, made announcements on radio. Then it was on Radio Rivers 99.1 FM. Made announcements for people who had bought forms and didn't write their exams to come and collect their money. Everybody was refunded. Now listen, that's leadership. So when I'm talking about leadership, I know what I'm talking about. Everybody was refunded their money. Everybody. I say it here. Anybody who says, oh, I bought form, prove it. But everybody was refunded. But because of that, the place he was using for that school, students had vandalized it. He fixed the whole place back for the landlord. Oh, but the landlord said no. I won't mention the landlord's name also. It's not a vendetta issue. I'm just telling my story. The landlord said, oh no, I can't really let you use this facility no more. And Student Aid now broke into splinters. We're trying to set up small training centers, lecture areas. We went to some school in GRA at some point in time, had classes there in GRA, moved to Bori, moved here and there. The center could no longer hold because mere anarchy had been loosed on the organization. And my dad and some staff they were part of the whole fraudulent system that brought us to that point. And so Student Aid was not together anymore as it used to be. My dad was just trying to piece it here and there. I did the little I could. Then at this point I was in the university and he was trying to do a little the bit he could and all of that. And eventually, let me bring a long story to a short close here. Student Aid went under. My dad passed in 2008, 28 December 2008 precisely, he passed. Due to all the pressures of life and all the heat and everything. And then in 2020, I started out of school myself. And when the school started, I sat back and I began to take stock. My wife and I, we sat back, started thinking back. And then we realized there is a transgenerational gift in education that runs in the family. Are we going to let student A die? And the answer is simply no. And so we transited the school we're running, which is Uniqueville, and went to CAC. Now, leadership, doing things right, translating vision into reality. Reapplied to CAC and said, we have this name registered with CAC, Uniqueville International School. We want a change of name from Uniqueville International Schools to Student Aid Academy. And I sit here right in this studio with all joy. Yesterday, the approval and the certificate for Student Aid Academy was issued by CAC and sent to us yesterday. So that vision, that transgenerational vision, is being brought back to life. That is leadership. And we are making a promise to say we're going to do much more than my late father did, because times have changed. We're going to bring to bear the things that we know will be of greater value today in the education space through Student Aid Academy. So it is about personal leadership. It is about personal leadership. It's about you being able to translate vision into reality. As I speak to you right now, Student Aid is live. Student Aid is back. Student Aid is back. That's what I'm talking about. Student Aid is back. When I say Student Aid is back, I mean every word of it. So it was a challenge. It was something that people felt Student Aid is gone and it's forgotten. But I said no. It is a transgenerational business, a transgenerational system, and leadership behoves on me to bring that vision to reality, and that has been achieved. So leadership is beyond position. You get the point I'm driving at now. So let me drive it home to you quickly, that you need to begin to ask yourself, what vision do I have for my life and my family and my future and my business? How do I translate that vision to reality? That is what leadership is about. When you find that voice in your head speaking to you and you're able to translate that voice into reality, then you're a leader. It's not about holding a position. No, that's not what it is. It's not about holding a position. Oh my word. Touchy story, isn't it? But it's true. Someone said to me, wherever your father is right now, he'll be rejoicing. He'll be happy that he gave birth to a son. He has a son who's able to didn't let his dream die. But hey, it's beyond my dad. It's beyond me. It's about the people that we're going to provide the value of education we have promised you. It's about the people. It's about the value of education we're going to bring to bear. 3 key things. Success in exams, like we promised, like my father succeeded in doing. Technology, tech for education. We're going to bring tech in its full glare with certifications and entrepreneurship education. This is the promise. So now bringing me to the last segment of the show, which is the characteristics of effective leaders, which is something that we need to understand, that if you don't look at how effective leadership happens, then you will not be able to make the kind of progress that you expect in your life. And so what are those qualities? What makes for effective leaders? What qualities should we look for or strive to develop in ourselves? You see, when I started the show, some of us thought I was going to be badging the government or attacking systems. No, I did that to get your attention, because I want to bring it home to you. It's about you. That's why the show is called Find Your Voice. But I needed you to get in and listen keenly, and that's why I brought that twist to the show. So now, what are those values? Firstly, as a leader, you should effective leader, not just as a leader. I've driven to the higher rank now, from leadership to effective leadership. Now, first thing you need to have, any effective leader must have vision and inspiration. Vision, what you see from where you sit. Inspiration, the drive that keeps you going. You need it because effective leaders must have a clear vision, all right, and they should be able to inspire others to share and walk towards that vision. If you don't have those two, for starters, please go back to the drawing board or whatever thing you use for your preps. Go back there and start afresh. You need vision, you need inspiration. No matter how big your vision is, if you can't inspire people to share that vision with you and to run with it, you're not a leader. I'm working on a project called the UII project as we speak, right? The UI project is Unique Youth International. Now, I conceived it. I sat back, we conceived that idea, that vision, and we began to put it on paper, work on it. We had to bring key people to join us in translating that vision into reality by inspiring them to see what we see. That is the first thing that you need to know, that you need to understand, that you need to get a grip of. And then you need to think about leaders who have motivated you. It's their vision and their passion that draws you in. So have you anybody who's done that for you? And have you done that for others? Any big or great vision can't be administered or executed by one person. You need to inspire people to buy in. And that's why Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change be the change you want to see. Be the change you want to see. The second thing that's very important that every effective leader must have is integrity and accountability. These are non-negotiable. Integrity and accountability, these are non-negotiable. They are not, you can't discuss it. It's not up for debate. If your integrity is weak, if your accountability is not there, you can't. Now, I lead a team, I'm doing a program, and we have a class. I've been made the class governor, and my team will always say, listen, we trust our class governor. Let's release funds. Let him mash out the funds the way he pleases, put everything, and give us updates on how the funds are spent. We trust him. He's demonstrated clearly that he's someone that has integrity and is accountable. Every resource that has gone through him, he has given us. Even when we didn't make enough money to get the project executed, he found a way to reach out to others who could support, even took loan on our behalf and got the job done. So how much more? Little things like this. And I feel great to see that people could say, look, you're a man of integrity, you are accountable, and we love the way you run the show. Wow. It's personal, man. It's personal. And then the third element that any effective leader must have. In fact, before I give you the third one, let me tell you this truth. Without trust, without honesty, ethical values, taking responsibility for your actions, people are not going to trust you. And the moment these traits are broken, leadership fails. Let me drop the last hint. I think this one will be your take home. All right, are you ready for the last one? Empathy and communication are crucial. Empathy and communication are crucial. I was training one of my clients and I said to her, listen, empathy is the root of emotional intelligence. Empathy is the root of emotional intelligence. You need leaders who are empathetic. You need leaders. I was training a leader, a member of one of the houses of assemblies in Nigeria, and also training him. I told him and I said something. I say a lot of time political leaders think for the people. They think they know what the people need without even asking the people what they need. And they go ahead to give the people what they think the people need. And that's why there's a lot of chaos in the system. And he looked at me and said, for the first time in my life, I never thought that the people knew what they wanted. We always think for them, and you're right. We give them what we think is best for them. Constituency project, we decide what we want, and we just give it out because that's what we feel is best. He said, I have never thought about it. And I gave him a narrative, which time will fail me to share on this show. Maybe next episode I'll share the narrative. All right. Let me ask my studio manager, how much time do I have left? If I could share that real quick. I have 3 minutes. Oh my God, I have just 3 minutes. So 3 minutes won't cut it. I promise you, if someone can send me a reminder, I'm going to share it first before we hit the next episode next week. It's a very important story about empathy and communication. I'm going to share that story in the next episode. I hope I remember. So you can just send me a message and I'll share it with you. Now, this is it. Leaders need to understand and connect with people. You need to listen to their concerns. You need to communicate effectively. These qualities build trust and foster a positive environment. So as a leader, you need to be empathetic. you need to communicate effectively. I teach on effective communication. I coach people in public speaking and all of that. And I'm big on effective communication, because without empathy and communication, you will lose the people that you're leading. You'll be taking a stroll. You'll be taking a walk all by yourself. Any leader that doesn't have followers who are committed, who believe in what he says and shares, is just taking a walk. So I'd like you to take the notes. Next week, I'm going to open the WhatsApp line from the beginning of the show, because I know that what we've talked about today is going to be hitting in your heart, and you'll be like, wow, what a twist. So we're going to have a conversation next week. I decided to just do it straight on because it's the introduction of this series on the leadership challenge, and we will be having a conversation around this topic next week. And maybe I should just do you a great good by telling you what we will be discussing next week, still on this series. And if I do that, perhaps it will help us a great deal to navigate and get better results. So let me check this out and just tell you what the show is going to be about for next week. We'll be looking at something very interesting, and let me just bring it to the fore. In the next episode, which is next week, we shall be discussing overcoming leadership challenges. All right, we're going to first identify some common challenges and how we can overcome them, and we'll do a lot of work on that pedestal for next week. And meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, it's still your show and your host, The Oxygen. This is Find Your Voice with The Oxygen. Ciao, ciao. See you next week. Same time, same station, same frequency, right here on Grace Impact Radio, where we provide you word, music, and entertainment. And from me to you, The Oxygen, Emmanuel Dogba, it's ciao, ciao. See you next week.